Boom! We are back. What am I saying boom to? I'm saying boom here to Midwest cannabis first, like party time, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for being here. All right. Did a great show in my own. Well, it was a great show thanks to the great guests Brian and Ryan earlier today on the first Metaplanet roundtable that I did, which was um, really about the amazing trajectory of Metaplanet, a lot of different, so many different things to talk about with that. But I also want to get back on track here with MSTR Mondays. It's been a few weeks, maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks since I last did a MSTR Monday show, and yeah, I've been traveling, jet lag. Spent last week in Vegas for the Bitcoin Magazine conference, so it took a little while. But this topic I've actually had on my mind for ever since the last MSTR Mondays, and this is now number 22, and that is how, in my opinion, safe and easy you can get Bitcoin exposure and MSTR exposure into grandma's account through Strike. So let's dive into that. But first, couldn't see that on the last show because it shows like much less of the screen when you have several people on screen at the same time. But I noticed this hotel, how it's actually, so I'm in a hotel room now. There's lots of, it's orange color. It's pretty cool for a Bitcoin show. But I'm as some of you know, the home that I lived in, it was rented, but that burned in Palisades in January. Prices are elevated now on the rental market, and since I just took this opportunity to travel. I guess to save rent, go live for free with friends and family, and back in Denmark. And Wednesday next week, so I'm in this hotel now in LA. Wednesday next week, I'm headed back to Europe. I'll be emceeing at BTC Prague for the third time out of three conferences that the brothers Matthias and Martin put together. I've been emceeing every year, and then last year I got to introduce Sailor on main stage, which obviously was pretty cool and fun. But you know what? So appreciate that. But I refuse to let anything really get to me. So I just decided to turn it into something positive. And how do I turn it into something positive? By saving a lot of money on rent. And as a Bitcoiner, I'm sure you can imagine that's a positive. So there's of course the downside of not having a home, and that sucks a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not the end of the world. Like, there's so many people in much worse situations than me, being able to stay in a hotel and going to stay with friends and family, for free back in Denmark. And overall, I'm saving a lot of money, and that's good. Hey Ryan, is that you, Ryan? I think it is. Hey dude, if you want to join this one, talk about, if you have time, talking about how to get some Bitcoin exposure into grandma's account, just put it in the chat and I'll send you the invite link. Absolutely, it's a great excuse, Ryan, to hang out with friends and family back home. So that's been awesome. All right, I'm gonna try and make this not a too long. Well, I should never say that, because that I'll probably jinx. Trying to make it a concentrated episode of Signal, but I did want to just give a little bit of an intro there, since I'm just babbling here on the screen by myself anyway, on living situation and all of that. it's all good in the hood. Life is good, and God is good, and it's all going to be great. All right, so we all know that Strategy this year launched some amazing fixed income products. They started with Strike, which is the focus of this episode, and that is a 8% yielding fixed income product. So right now they launched it at $85. Right now it's trading at, I think, $105. But for the $100 worth of equity that it is, it yields 8%, $8 a year. Every quarter it pays out $2, and that's how it gets to $8 a year in the yield, which means that, well, I bought it at $94 just 3 weeks ago or so. So I effectively have more than 8% real yield, effective yield. Right now, it's lower than, let me just check real quick. Yeah, the effective yield right now is 7.5%, with Strike trading at $106. So funny. I bought this for the reason that it has such very limited downside. And obviously, it has less upside than Strategy common stock, MSTR. But the fact that it has limited downside makes it attractive for a couple of things. And shout out to Dan Hillary for really being the reason that I purchased some myself. And why would I do that? Because I see MSTR outperforming Strike. But because of the limited downside, it allowed me to, and that's where Dan brought my attention to that, to be to dare opening up margin on my Fidelity account and buying Strike on margin because of the very limited downside. Essentially, it will only really crash, say, we already have high interest rates in the economy compared to historically. If the interest rate goes through the roof, and it's probably more likely to go down than up, I think anyone in the market expects it's much more likely to, if it's going anywhere, to go down from this level. But if the interest rate was to go up, the value of Strike and the other preferred products like Strife and Stride would fall to have a yield that is matching market yield plus whatever risk the market associates with these income products, fixed income products. Now, again, my focus will be a Strike on this one. But if the interest rate goes down on the flip side, then Strike and the others will increase, because then when the market interest rate goes down, then Strike will be trading at risk-free rate plus some level of premium. And that means that their yield will go down, which they have been doing for a while now, meaning that because the price of the equity itself is going up. And right now, as I said, Strike is trading at $106. So Strike for me is something I would normally never buy, but on margin, okay, it makes sense. Why? Well, my margin interest rate is 12%. Now, I locked in a yield slightly above 8, maybe it was 8.3 or something when I paid $94. And then I have a few other little bit of interest carrying exposure in there. So I think I'll be able to just actually pay off on it, bit by bit, the margin, having a little bit more interest income than cost of the margin. So why would I do that? Well, here's the reason. I bought Strike because, to me, essentially 40% of Strike, or a little bit less today, you could say, is MSTR exposure. And that's my point. So let's make it simple and say, so Strategy actually trades at 387. For the sake of making this an easy easy numbers to deal with. Let's say that its strategy, aka MSTR, trades at at $400. Strike right now trades at $106. For ease of the calculation, let's say it trades at $100. So this is a little bit off, but just to make it easy. The thing with Strike is that outside of yielding 8% a year, $8 per piece of per share, it has a built-in conversion to MSTR common stock, which means that 10 Strike can convert to 1 MSTR. That means that right now you could say that out of the $1,000 that 10 of these Strike trade for, then the $400 or 40% of it really is MSTR exposure. So I expect MSTR to trade above 1,000 this year. I do think that bull run will happen. So as MSTR starts going above $1,000, it will push Strike higher because 10 of them can convert. So the price of Strike will always be, and I'll pay attention to the chat later and bring some of those up on the screen, and in case there's any questions. But right now I'm trying to keep my train of thought here. So Strike will always trade at basically 10% of MSTR plus a premium. And that premium is there for two reasons. So, but to just explain what would that mean in practicality, let's say MSTR goes to 2,000. That's just a matter of time, in my opinion. And again, none of whatever is said on this channel is financial advice. It is essentially financial entertainment. If you do like the entertainment, feel free to like it and subscribe and share it with someone that you think might find it useful. But that's what it is. It's not advice. So if MSTR trades to $2,000, a matter of time, in my opinion, then Strike will trade at $200 plus a premium because of two things. First, Strike will have that premium above and be worth a little bit more than 1/10 of MSTR because it's higher in the capital stack. What does that mean? That means in case of a bankruptcy of strategy, which I consider highly unlikely, but these are things that are important. Nevertheless, in case of bankruptcy, Strife, which is the 10% preferred stock, 10% yielding fixed income equity from strategy, that is first and will always be first. That's the promise from Sailor, from strategy to the market, will always be first in the capital stack. And that is around, they are trading a market cap around 1 billion. It's backed by around $60 billion worth of Bitcoin. So it's just such a safe position there in terms of any trouble for strategy. Next comes Strike. So that's also a market cap of, let's just take it's 1.1 billion out of strategies, $61 billion worth of Bitcoin. So it's also highly secure. Only one step behind Strife, which isn't very big in itself. They're both, I would say, relatively small. This is early days with around 1 billion in market cap, and that will change, especially this year. But going forward, they'll probably trade up above $1 trillion each of those equities, in my opinion. But so Strike trades at a premium to being 10% of MSTR because, first of all, it's very high in the capital stack, as I just explained. It's only second to Strife. Second reason is that it still has the yield. So it's very high in the capital stack, very secure in terms of a bankruptcy situation, liquidation of the company, and it'll continue to have its yield. So it'll always be more than 10% of MSTR in value. And that's why no one will want to convert it to MSTR. There's only downside. You're losing to very important and phenomenal advantages to if you convert to MSTR. You'll lose your position in the capital stack. Why would you do that? You're losing the dividend. Why would you do that? So now, as I mentioned early on, because of the very limited cap downside, it's the only reason that I opened up margin on my Fidelity account and went ahead and bought some Strike. Again, the cost of the margin is close to balancing out the yield that Strike is providing. It's a little bit of a tiny loss every month, but that's a very low price for what? For, as I mentioned, essentially having 40% off the Strike shares being MSTR, because as MSTR breaks through or gets close to being worth 10 times of Strike, it'll push them up ahead of MSTR. So it's so, in my opinion, not financial advice, I consider it so safe that I dare to buy it on margin. Otherwise, I will highly caution anyone against buying any DGen, LPE, even Bitcoin on margin. I've seen people lose their savings, their investments by blowing up when you have a bad day in the market. You have COVID, where I was sitting and watching TradingView over 8 hours. Bitcoin lost 50% of its value. That's why the only thing I'm putting on margin here in my account is Strike, because it is held up first and foremost at the moment by the yield, the income that it provides to the owner. And that is the key to why I am saying that is the whole topic of this video. Why, how can you get Bitcoin exposure and MSTR exposure into grandma's account in a way where it is unlikely, not financial advice, that she'll experience a serious drawdown. The only serious drawdown there could be is if the interest rate in the economy, in the market in general, if interest rate shoots up. As I said early on this video, the interest rate right now is historically relatively high, and if anything, the market expects the interest rate to start moving down. Trump is working for that as well, and therefore I don't see realistically that Strike would fall because of rising interest rates. I just don't see the interest rates going up anytime soon. So I am personally comfortable putting Strike in grandma's account because of that very limited downside. Grandma will get 8% in yield. Right now, the effective yield is a little bit less because it's trading at $106, and it's the $100 equity that pays out $8 of yield. It happens $2 once a quarter. The next one is 1st of July, so a little bit less than 1 month from now. But the place where it gets interesting is that once, which in my opinion is just a matter of time, MSTR pushes through being worth more than 10x one Strike. So right now, that means that MSTR would have to go above $1,000, just a matter of time. Once that happens, because of the built-in perpetual, forever, glorious convertibility of 10 Strike to 1 MSTR, that will push the price of Strike higher. So what does that mean for grandma if she buys Strike? It means she has very limited downside. She gets a yield, and once MSTR, and I think that will happen this year, gets up to that level of 10x the price of Strike, Strike will start moving up at the same speed of MSTR. Granted, if I had money sitting in the account, no margin, and I want to invest it somewhere to get the best possible return, I would look at strategy itself. I would buy the common stock, or I would buy MetaPlanet. Honestly, I would probably buy both. and I have bought both. But for grandma, that's too risky an option maybe. So buying strike with a limited downside is the way to go, in my opinion. And what I think is really interesting, and I spoke with Ryan about this and Brian on the earlier show I did today, which was the first episode of Meta Planet Roundtable, where I get some great Meta Planet minds, analysts, kids analysts together for a stream every Tuesday, 9 a.m. PST. First one was today. Ryan will be back next Tuesday. Hopefully also Brian, and there's some more people climb that ladder might join. Hopefully he will. He is the alpha and the signal. Back to strike. As I spoke with Ryan about strategy had convertible bonds last year that outperformed Bitcoin itself. Let me say that again. Strategy had convertible bonds that outperformed Bitcoin itself. Pretty wild, because you got the security of a bond and its position in the capital stack, and you have a yield, and it outperforms Bitcoin. Now, importantly, it did not outperform MSTR itself. So how is this possible? It's possible because MSTR is a leverage play on Bitcoin. They take on debt, so they can, when the price moves, MSTR moves faster because they can buy more Bitcoin with this debt. They take on leverage. Now, Sailors, aka Strategies, target is a leverage between 20 to 30%. I believe right now they're around 18%, a little bit less than 20%. There's room to lever up. Would love to see them lever up. So when you do a show by yourself, it's hard to squeeze in to get a sip of water. Let me just get a sip of water. Thank you for your patience. So why could the convertible bond last year outperform Bitcoin? For the same reason that Strike eventually also is going to outperform Bitcoin. And let me explain how. Again, it's because it converts into MSTR, or will be pushed up by the price of MSTR. So granted, in the case of Strike right now, it will be just a fixed income product without being pushed up by MSTR's share price until MSTR goes from currently $387 above 1,000. That's when it'll start pushing Strike higher. But so compared to Bitcoin, in that meantime, Bitcoin obviously likely, I mean, there are some pretty bullish things for Strike, like for instance, S&P 500 inclusion for MSTR, which will improve their credit rating. Strike itself getting a credit rating together with Strife, that will attract more of the global fixed income market, which could push the price higher. So they might actually do great. I mean, since I bought it at $94 3 weeks ago, it's outperformed Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure. Nevertheless, but for the period of, let's say Strike is flat, but Bitcoin does well over the next couple of months, the rest of the year, part of the bull run. But that will also push Bitcoin doing well, will push MSTR up. And remember, MSTR, because it's a levered play, over time at least, move faster than Bitcoin in both directions. So when MSTR finally breaks through 1,000, 1,050 and starts being the actual value driver of Strike, the thing that essentially drives the price of Strike higher, then Strike starts moving at the speed of MSTR. And because MSTR is a levered play on Bitcoin, that speed will be higher than Bitcoin's price growth. So there you have it. Strike may be flat for a period of time, although it does seem to be trending up. And as I mentioned, there's some bullish catalysts for Strike, even as a fixed income product. But once MSTR reaches to close to 10x the price of Strike, Strike starts moving at the speed of MSTR. MSTR moving faster than Bitcoin means that even though Strike may be trading sideways for the X amount of months it takes for MSTR to get close to 10x the price of Strike, once it does catch up to 10x the price of Strikes and start pushing the price of Strike up at that speed, because it's a levered play on Bitcoin, it will move the price of it can get Strike to it essentially will get Strike to outperform Bitcoin. And when it has outperformed Bitcoin long enough, it will from the starting point of say now end up having given you a greater return than Bitcoin itself. And that is what happened with the convertible bonds of Strategy. Some of them last year that they outperformed Bitcoin, even though there was that period where it has to work up to the premium. Once the stock reached that premium, it pushes the bonds up at the same speed of MSTR, and that's exactly what's going to happen with MSTR. No guarantee it will happen. I will say all of this because I know there will be some pushback, of course, but it's important to highlight the what ifs and the downside, the risk or whatever. Well, obviously, this is not Bitcoin and cold storage. Strike might outperform over the, like if you say a 5-year period, but it's not Bitcoin and cold storage, self-sovereign, that you can leave any precarious situation, aka oppressive nation, with 12 words in your memory. You can't do that with an equity. It's an equity, it's traded, it's something that could be confiscated from you, whatever. I mean, I think most of you guys know the risks of that. But the point is, when it comes to grandma, right? I'm not going to get grandma who may have 10, 15 years, who knows. I'm not going to have her start dealing with seed phrase and cold storage and that. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do that. I feel the risk there is higher than owning an equity, and that's why, bottom line conclusion, TLDR of this show is that Strike is something that has very limited downside. That's why I feel it's safe to recommend to grandma. This is not financial advice for me to you or your grandma. This is how I personally feel. I feel it's safe, a very safe investment with very limited downside, that I would be comfortable to put it in grandma's account. And in a matter of maybe half a year, maybe more, maybe a couple of years, maybe 3 months, once MSTR has shot above 10x of the price of Strike, now grandma's very safe, very limited downside, 8% yielding investment starts moving up faster than Bitcoin. And there you have it. That's the beauty of it. And I think all of us are like slightly starting to wake up to some of the ways that these products are interesting. These preferred stocks, yielding income yielding equities from Strategy, aka Sailor. Yeah, that's basically it. Let me just take a quick look at the chat. Boom. Yes, let me see some. Treasury Voyager saying, so that was regarding me talking about my living situation, the home I lived in, it burned in January in Palisade, that I turned a negative into a positive. Way to go, man. I appreciate that, Treasury Voyager. And absolutely, I think I would like to try and do that with anything that is negative in my life. Turn it into a positive, focus on the positive. And now I'm just saving a lot of money on rent. And I'm staying in a quite affordable hotel here in LA for the little period of time that I'm spending here between the Vegas conference and heading back to free accommodation in the mother country, Denmark. Appreciate that, Midwest. Sounds like you're doing it right. Treasury Voyager, God provides. Amen. Yes, he does. Okay, I'm gonna take this one. Nobody cares about this, bro. You need to talk. This is from DJT with the comment. Nobody cares about this, bro. You need to talk about other stuff to get more people to listen to you. I don't care. Like I do these shows. These are like my personal shows. I spend my time. I don't charge a ticket. This is free. I want to talk about the things that I find interesting. And some people, including myself, like to also sometimes share something that is personal. So it's not just TradFi finance talk. I appreciate the input. Thank you for that. And you know, there's several challenges with me running a show. It's my second language. I say a lot, right? It's just, that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, I mean, go watch the pros, man. This is just Anders from Denmark sharing his passion and trying to help people without it having to cost them anything. This is free to watch and being streamed live on X and on YouTube. So it's not perfect. It will never be perfect with me. In all honesty, no one is perfect. There's definitely more professional, better spoken, bigger vocabulary, no shows out there. I highly recommend you go watch those. I try to bring great takes, good analysis that people can use, and they can spin on further on them themselves, and bring especially also some great guests on. And Punder Jeff, I need you back soon. We spoke about it in Vegas. Let's get you back on MSTR Monday. So I managed to keep this show on just 32 minutes. Not bad, I think, right? Anyways, thank you for watching. There's 300 live viewers right now, 300 in X, and only 5 on YouTube. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll be more MSTR Mondays coming soon because I'm mainly doing them by myself. They often are not on a Monday. It's like when it's convenient, but that's part of the joke. I don't take myself too seriously. I don't take you too seriously either. I respect people, but I think it's important that to not be too stiff and formal and take everything so darn serious. You know, let's just have a good time and be nice to each other. Treasury Voyager saying thanks, Anders. Appreciate that. Thank you for watching, bro. You watched here. You watched the earlier show with Ryan and Brian. I recommend that. Meta Planet. So it's on my YouTube channel. You'll find it on my X feed as well. Meta Planet Roundtable Episode 1. Great content and analysis from Raekwon, our favorite Raekwon, and Brian. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you on X, where I'm at with @Anders_. Have a great one. I hope you have a great day, great week, and maybe see you at BTC Prague, where I will be emceeing, introducing speakers on stage for the third consecutive of their 3 conferences. The biggest Bitcoin only conference in Europe, BTC Prague. Great, beautiful city, great people, great beer, great food, all around great atmosphere.